10:30. Shall we launch? We ready, people? Welcome, everyone. It's 10:30. Start on time, finish on time. Welcome to Excellence in Outdoor Environmental Education Programming with David Hawker-Budlovsky. My name is Patrick Robertson. I'm a director with Ecom and a chair with the Classrooms to Communities, or C2C, education network here in BC. We want to begin with a land acknowledgement, as is our custom. I'm coming to you from the unceded territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh peoples here in Comcomale, also known as Vancouver. And here at the conference, we acknowledge, of course, that we're on the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and Petun First Nations, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, the Seneca, and most recently the Mississaugas, the Mississauga of the Credit, who for thousands of years who've walked gently on this land. This territory is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit, as well as by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which is an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe, and allied nations who peaceably share and have cared for these lands for thousands of years around the Great Lakes. We take this time to acknowledge and signal our desire to seek a new relationship with the original peoples of this land, one that's based on honor and deep respect. And it's a starting point to remind us all to enact this work in our personal and professional lives. We invite you to acknowledge the territory you're joining us from in the chat right now. Take a moment. Tell us who you are and where are you from, and whose land do you live upon. Thank you for taking a moment. While you introduce yourself and acknowledge your land, the lands you are upon, that is, we welcome our Zoom host, Lauren Nazaparty. Lauren has just completed her Master's of Teaching, there's Lauren, at OISE, and she's sharing her wizardry around technology with us this morning. Right, Lauren? How's that sound? And welcome to you all. We hope you enjoy the session. If you have questions or perspectives at any time, share them during the session. Drop them into the chat and we'll do our best to address. David is hoping to do so as we move along during the flow. Thanks, Elizabeth, from Treaty 4 territory. Once again, please introduce yourself when you have a moment. And again, our presenter is David Hawker-Budlovsky. David's has worked in the Toronto District School Board since 1998, has had many roles, including classroom teacher, outdoor education teacher, elementary vice principal, and principal. For the last 6 years, he's been in central roles overseeing the outdoor education programs in the Toronto District School Board. So, thank you, David. Take it away. Hope you enjoy the session, everyone.
Yeah, good afternoon here in Toronto, Treaty 13, land where I am presenting from today. It is wonderful to have people from all across the country joining us. And I did put up a Menti link in the chat. If you wouldn't mind answering that, it gives me a better sense of who's in the room. It's wonderful to see many friends' names pop up, and as well as understanding that we do have people from across the country. Patrick, it was wonderful for you to share good morning with us all as you sit on the West Coast today. Taking a quick look, it's great to see that we have a cross range so far of people that have entered the room, of teachers, administrators, and outdoor educators. And the one thing that I would like to say is that I do not intend to claim to have answers or want to give you any answers today, but rather share a tool that has been co-developed and used in a variety of circumstances to really reflect on what programming excellence can look like as we take a look at outdoor environmental education. And for teachers, I think this is something that you could use with groups of teachers in a variety of settings. So I encourage you to follow along. It will be a little bit of talk and gawk. Depending on our timing, I will try to incorporate interactivity and interaction through the digital platform. This presentation is usually done or can be done over a couple of hours, a half day, with a large group of people. So I welcome you to follow along in the slide deck. I've shared that bit.ly link to you so that you can have it and share it as a resource as well. Great. And Lauren, if you could put the bit.ly link, enter the bit.ly link in the chat, that would be great as well. Okay. So what we're going to spend the next kind of 45 minutes talking about, me getting a better sense of who's in the room. Like I've shared, we have an even split of outdoor educators and classroom teachers, which is wonderful. Great to have Matthew with us, a principal here in Toronto, and other, which is fantastic. We also have people from all across Canada. Although 7 of the people have identified themselves as living or working here in Toronto, we have 6 so far joining us from the rest of Canada. So that really is such a wonderful opportunity to be a part of this national conference and hearing other perspectives and such amazing perspectives in all of the sessions. I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes talking about outdoor education in the TDSB for those of you who may not be familiar. Why and how this tool came about. We'll go through the process, and like I said, the activity is time dependent. And within the slide deck, there's some examples of other groups that have gone through this activity and questions at the end. But as Patrick said at the beginning, I'm happy to be interrupted at any point in time. So please feel free to jump into the chat or even come on screen and unmic. I'm pretty flexible that way. Here was the Menti link. Thank you so much for joining in. We have now balanced out between Canada and Toronto participants, which is just so wonderful. I've been very privileged to work in the Toronto District School Board all of my professional life, and am a product of the North York Board of Education. So prior to the amalgamation of the 5 school boards that now make up the TDSB. All former boards and the TDSB have a strong legacy of supporting outdoor environmental education. And currently we operate 9 outdoor education centers. 4 of them are day centers in the city proper that use conservation land, TRCA land, natural park land, as well as urban sites all across the city. And it's great to have Kathleen on the line from the Toronto Urban Studies Center. We also have 5 overnight centers where students have the opportunity in their middle years, grades 5 to 8, to attend an overnight trip for 3 to 5 days. And those go from Toronto Island in the south to the Scarborough Outdoor Education School, which is about 350 kilometers north of Toronto, and they range in between there. In a typical year, we see about 60 to 65,000 students on our sites, kindergarten to grade 12. It is our intention that every student in the TDSB has 2 opportunities to visit a day center in their elementary years, 1 overnight visit in their middle years, and we also offer designated secondary programming through our secondary leadership program at the Forest Valley Outdoor Education Center, but create opportunities for secondary students on a rolling basis at all of our sites, including weekend and outside of hours as well, supporting specialist hike skilled majors, integrated programming, outdoors clubs, environmental clubs, and those sorts of things. So quite a diverse group. We're made up of outdoor education specialists, teachers, office staff, facility staff, and admin to support our 9 sites. I'm very, very fortunate to do so.
David, sorry
Yes.
to interrupt. Could you possibly share your slide deck link with us again in the chat?
Absolutely.
A few of us are asking and we can follow along. Thank you so much. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, that's the Menti one again. Sorry. Why isn't it working? Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to share the full bit link. The
Fantastic.
bit.ly
Thanks so
didn't
much.
seem to be working. No problem at all. Okay, so in Ontario, the Ministry of Education in 2010 introduced Growing Success. This is our policy document which supports assessment, evaluation, and reporting in Ontario schools. This was updated in 2016 with the kindergarten program, but really the heart of it hasn't changed and continues to drive assessment, evaluation, and reporting in Ontario schools. And as a department of the TDSB, I believe it is our imperative to support classroom teachers through the work in our outdoor education centers, so that the work that we do not only supports students in connecting to their natural environment, whether urban or rural, but also connects to the teaching and learning that is happening in classrooms across the school board, so that the experiences at the Outdoor Education Center are not a one-off, but actually embedded as part of the curriculum and program that students are learning. Within Growing Success, there's a couple of key messages instructing teachers to clearly identify learning goals. And that a learning goal is defined, and on the next slide, we'll actually go through the definition of a learning goal, but it's what is intended of the intended outcomes of our program. And then we're going to co-create success criteria. So if our program is going to meet our goals, what will that program look like, sound like, feel like if we are successful? So Growing Success defines a learning goal as assessment for and as learning. Okay, and I need to move the beautiful faces on my screen so I can see. As learning that requires students and teachers to share a common understanding of what is being learned. Learning goals clearly identify what students are expected to know and how they are going to be able to do it in language that students can readily understand. So getting away from teacher speak and actually working to in language that is clearly available to all. Teachers and students come to a common understanding through the learning goals, through discussion and clarity. And the way that teachers are going to know that the students are successful, and more importantly, the way students are going to know that they're successful, is understanding what the success criteria are. So in success criteria ensures that the students understand that, again, that they are created in clear language. In a classroom, you would ideally co-create these success criteria, and that really is a check for the teacher to know that the students understand what the goals of the day are and how they know they'll be successful, and really become the background for descriptive feedback and ongoing dialogue between the educators and the students. So if doing this in real life and face-to-face, we'd be getting up, getting around, and a few real simple materials that you would need to get started is a bunch of chart paper, some markers, and stickers. And in light of being virtual today, we're going to use a Google Jamboard to go through this activity together. So if we were all together in a room, we would be doing a bit of a jigsaw activity. We would be breaking up into small groups, and in those groups, brainstorm what you believe in that group are key components of an outdoor education program. And again, we are talking at an outdoor environmental education conference right now. This can be applied to any subject area, any lesson, any program. Our focus today is on outdoor education. And in that small group, we'd want to record your ideas on the chart paper and keep those boards up. And I'm noticing that I am just flying through this. So if I am going too quickly, by all means, ask questions and tell me to stop at any point in time. And I am going to try and get a link to a Jamboard in the chat. Doesn't seem to be working. So I will go into my Jamboard that's already open. Put the link there. Here we go. And so in the chat, I've just cut and pasted a link to a Jamboard. For those of you that aren't familiar, okay, a Jamboard is a Google product. So if you are not logged in with a Gmail account, you may have difficulty accessing it, although I have created an opportunity for anyone to be able to access. So hopefully it's working, and I see that a number of people are in the Jamboard, which is wonderful. For those of you who are new to Jamboard, along the left-hand side of the screen are a number of icons, and right in the middle, it looks like a little pad of paper. That is a sticky note, and these are what we're going to use right now. If you would click on a sticky note, generate, and a little yellow tab will show up on the screen. A problem with Jamboard is that the sticky notes go on top of one another. So my ask of you is, as you post something, please drag your sticky note onto the sheet so others are able to take a look and separate the different pieces, the different sticky notes. If we run out of space on the one slide, there are arrows at the top of the screen, and there are 5 different Jamboard slides, frames they are called, to navigate through. So I see that someone has posted a sticky note. Thank you so much for getting us started. Oh, there they start coming in. This is wonderful. This is great. I see people are exploring with colors. That's fantastic. Really appreciate it. Making them nice and big so people can read, and moving your own stickies, which is just so wonderful. Okay. And Lauren, I notice a number of people are still joining us. So if you could just copy and paste those Jamboard links as people arrive, they'll be able to join in, because we will be revisiting this Jamboard in the next part of the activity as well. Okay. I encourage you to use those arrows at the top of the screen to move over to the second frame, so that we can spread out some of these wonderful ideas that are flowing. So again, up at the very top, And I'm going to delete my initial one, again, making a little bit more space on the page. And I think at this point, I'm going to ask people to stop contributing, although this continues to be live and will continue as we move forward. And so you can imagine in a large, loud room of like-minded educators, there could be some absolutely wonderful brainstorming happening, deep, rich conversation, especially if you have people from different organizations coming together that may come with a different lens or a different eye. So again, heterogeneous groups is a really fantastic way to bring this together and bring it to life. So if we can imagine if we were in a large gymnasium, a classroom, and these large chart papers, like the Jamboard that we've created, were up all over the room, the next step is, again, to get people up and moving. And I would hand people a group of stickers. Everyone needs the same number of stickers, and we're going to create a dotmocracy. At this time, you have your voice to be able to share what you feel out of all these amazing suggestions represent to you the really key and critical elements of the program that you're looking to create. As this is a dotmocracy, how you use your dots is completely up to you. You can put all 5 dots on one note, that one item that you feel is critical. You may separate your 5 dots as you can't decide of which are the most critical pieces. Given that we are doing this virtually, I encourage you to go back into the Jamboard, and because of the number of people and in the interest of time, I'm going to ask you to draw a tally mark on the Jamboard sticky notes that are there. So on the Jamboard, on the left-hand side at the very top icon, there is a pen. And on that pen, you can just head over, and I'm going to do a little tally mark on going outside. Please be honest. I'm going to ask 3 tally marks each. We're going to take the next 2 to 3 minutes. Please go through, read all of the sticky notes. And then for those that resonate most strongly with you, 3 tally marks. You can put all 3 on one sticky note or separate those out. And so we'll spend the next few minutes doing that. Okay, so given that there's about 15 people in the room, my math would say that we should have about 45 tally marks somewhere on the sheet. I'm seeing the lines slowing down. Okay. Okay. So again, really hoping that this type of activity with a group of engaged people will pull those from the margins in to engage in the conversation. The more diverse the group, the more intersectionality, the ideas that flow really can help to generate pieces of conversation. So at this time, actually, I think we're doing okay with time. I'd love for people to chime in. Feel free to turn off your mic, unmute your mic, or put in the chat anything that has stood out or jumped out as you've read the comments that people have added to the Jamboard. Okay. So the third part of the activity is, again, allowing everyone to circulate around the chart, see what resonated with people, where the stickers were put. Here we're all on the same Jamboard, so we're all able to see what is there. And again, that point of reflection. Is there anything that you found surprising, interesting, a new perspective that has come into your mind? This is great. And so what we have intentionally done is created what those learning goals are for what a program would be. So with a very quick glance of taking a look at what's in the Jamboard, I'm kind of pulling away 5 key themes or items that have been identified. Equity of access, and going into the details of that, it's talking about transportation, it's talking about clothing, it's about space, connection to the land. It should happen outdoors, and it should be purposeful. I think that's fantastic. And so with those things in mind, the next step, as you take a look at your program, if that is what defines it as a successful program, one that demonstrates excellence in your area, the success criteria are going to help you understand, what does that look like? What does that sound like? And what does that feel like? And so I'm not going to open up another Jamboard. At this time, I'm going to ask for people in the chat to make some comments, or again, I welcome people to come off mic and share a voice of what does an excellent program that allows for equity of access, has connections to the land, takes place out of doors and is purposeful in its creation and delivery. What does that look like, sound like, feel like? Oops, sorry. Okay, I think this is a new joke. How do you get a group of educators to stop talking? Put them online. This never happens.
So yeah, I think people are talking about student engagement, and there's like that kind of excited energy from kids as they're outside and exploring things together.
Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa. You know, looks like the students from all backgrounds outside and in the natural world asking questions. Elizabeth, prior training to understand the goals of equity, respect, and student ideas. And Elizabeth, I would like to challenge that as well as educators, putting that onus on ourselves to learn and relearn and understand the audience that are in front of us. I'm sorry that I was not able to keep up with the chat before. Let's go. Great. Relevant to student life. And this morning's keynote, Julian spoke about, you know, this idea of outdoor education and something that people have heard me say before. Outdoor education has to be happening every day, everywhere, to be meaningful, because if outdoor education is a one-off somewhere out there, it becomes an event rather than a part of the critical learning process. I love it, Jessica. Yes, it sounds like laughter and questioning, student voice. As a school principal, I was always worried when I walked through the school and classes were quiet. I was always excited when I walked into a room and there was a bit of a buzz.
Hi, David.
Hello.
I was referring to parent volunteers receiving some training about the norms and goals of the outdoor experience on which they're volunteering as supervisors.
That's a great point. Thanks, Elizabeth, for putting that out there. And is it Elizabeth? Am I saying it correct? Is that your first name?
Yes, correct.
Okay, excellent. I think that's a really excellent point. We want to welcome members of the community into our spaces, and how do we prepare them for what to expect? Very, very important. Thank you for bringing that into the space.
David, I have a question kind of about
Please.
that. Do you provide any sort of documents or anything specifically to parent volunteers as opposed to the teachers? Like for the teachers to give to parent volunteers or to other community members joining them on trips to try to welcome them in that sort of way?
We don't have formal documentation. Generally, when we have groups coming to our outdoor education centers, quite often the staff will pull the adults to the group to the side and kind of give them an outline of what the expectations are for the day. One of the things that we've really been working on, and I've been working with the staff, is really to ensure that the adults have tasks to do within the program, because
Absolutely.
unfortunately, you know, a group of adults coming together as parents, they've taken a day off, they're out of the house, whatever the case may be, it becomes their social engagement as well. And so that can be a deterrent or take away from the programming and increase risks of safety. Again, there is that a happy balance of when too many adults creates an unsafe situation than a safe situation. So again, purposeful, meaningful task for the adults that are part of the program. And, you know, if you're a classroom teacher, you're going to talk to those parents about those expectations before they get there. If coming out onto trip, the staff on site taking those few minutes to clearly articulate what the rules are for that day.
Excellent. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Kathleen. Yeah, outdoor education relevant in all areas. Use the community where you're at. I think things are flying through in the chat. Yeah, the sense of belonging. Rodway, in his presentation this morning, really spoke about that sense of belonging. Yeah, and relevant to lived experiences where possible. Yeah. If it's where they are, if it's something that they can see themselves in, it becomes more meaningful. Okay. So mindful of time, I thought the next few slides are some examples of other groups that we've had the opportunity to do this with. So within the department that I have a chance to work with, we've talked about outdoor education programming, authentic real life hands-on, open-ended inquiry, getting outside and being safe, promote inquiring about environmental stewardship, promoting learning skills, make sure that the students are physically active and engaged and student directed. You know, a great thing to think about is during an activity, whether in a classroom, outside, or anywhere, how much time are the students speaking, on task, and contributing and guiding where we're going, and how much time is instructor-led and directed. Today, I'm doing a really bad example. Did a group, this activity with a group of outdoor education providers in the western end of the GTA at an annual conference called My Niche. Talked about inclusivity, accessibility. Done it with the Council of Outdoor Educators of Ontario that spoke about challenge by choice, making connections, transferable skills. Most recently with the Ontario Camps Association, who have just put out within their standards for outdoor education. And key components from that group of instructors were making sure that these outdoor education opportunities were inclusive, experiential, building relationships. Again, going back to what Elizabeth said about the training of the adults, but also about trained professionals delivering programs. Again, that opportunity to debrief and reflect. So in all of these experiences, some kind of trends that I've pulled out is that the key components of an outdoor education program is that there's a connection to the environment. There's a connection to oneself. There's equity of access to these types of opportunities. it's experiential and inclusive. And to avoid any hierarchy, I've put those in alphabetical order intentionally. So my encouragement to you, and the slide deck is shared, and feel free to go back and reference it, is please go back and take a look in your own context at a school, an outdoor education center, a department, a division, or a school board. What do you feel are the integral parts of programming excellence? Make sure that you continue the conversation. What are the things that you're doing that is great? Are there areas for improvement? Like I said at the beginning, an opportunity as a tool for reflection, honest reflection. Just because it's something that we've done in the past doesn't mean it's something we have to do in the future if it's not meeting the audience in front of us at the time. And I encourage you to connect with others. The multitude of voices that are coming together and are able to share is so important, that we don't end up in an echo chamber, and actually hear and listen to what others have to say. I go back to the very beginning. I'm not coming with answers. I'm simply presenting a process for reflection that will hopefully guide your work. So we have a few minutes. Any questions or comments? I'll stop sharing so I can see more faces on the screen. Feel free to turn your cameras off and unmute. And the final slide is Toronto Outdoor Education Schools do have a social media presence, and here are some of our tags.
Thank you, David. It sounds like we want to open up the floor, open the circle to comments or perspectives, questions. Again, feel free to unmute yourself or drop those in the chat for us to consider. Thank you. Comments or questions?
So Soraya, that's a very TDSB specific question to our process of outdoor education being delivered to schools. The way outdoor education trips are distributed to this point has been day trips are distributed on 1 day trip per 100 students in the school. And by doing so, we're able to ensure that every school has an opportunity to invite and have students engage in outdoor education. As a school principal, I was very intentional with the way those trips were distributed to ensure that all the students throughout their time in the school had an opportunity to come. There were particular grades that we focused on that went every year. By doing that, there are some additional spaces within the schedule at our outdoor education centers that allow for additional trips, and we have a wait list and we pull in schools. So encourage you to have that conversation with your principal to make sure that you know you're interested and can prioritize in that. If you aren't able to, for whatever reason of that local context, reach out, get on the wait list. We do pull groups in, especially if you're flexible in coming last minute. So
okay, thank you.
Other comments or perspectives, questions? Feel free to raise your hand, use the hand raise if your camera's off and you wish to share that way.
Kim, how are our programs funded? we are part of the Toronto District School Board who operates our centers. As a school board, we have a small amount of funding from the provincial government through the funding through school boards. It does not cover what we're able to do in outdoor education. As such, we do charge a subsidized user fee to the school for participating in our programs. So in the Toronto District School Board, there's something called the Learning Opportunities Index. It's a SES rating of schools across the school board. Depending on the school LOI, that determines their user fee by student participant. And it's a sliding scale. So moving forward, it's for a day trip, $5 for our lowest or highest LOI schools, depending how you want to look at it, 1 to 150. We've introduced a middle range of $750 for those students between schools 150 to 250, and above 250 is $10. So those are the user fees, and then user fees for overnight trips as well of $50, $75, or $100 for a 3-day trip. Thanks, Patrick. Hi. Okay. As we do wrap up, feel free to reach out to me anytime. My email address is david.hawker-budlovsky@tdsb.on.ca. There's a contact us link at our outdoor ed website, tdsb.on.ca. /TOES, TOES. I'll try and put that in the chat as well. And thank you so much for allowing me to interrupt your Saturday, wherever you are, morning or afternoon.
Oh, thank you, David. On behalf of Ecom 2021, the organizers, thanks for such a rich and engaging session. Really appreciate it. I really appreciated the focus on learning goals, criteria for success, and how that connects with assessment with regard to our programs and learning. So critical in our work. So thank you so much for sharing your work and your wisdom with us today. Big thanks to Lauren, our Zoom host, and to all of you for joining us. We're into a 10-minute break now, and then the next set of concurrent sessions will begin at the bottom of the hour, or the top of the hour if you're in Newfoundland, I suppose. Thanks again, everybody. Wishing you well in the important work we do together. Have a great day.